Welcome to the video version of the Wagner Daily for May 1st, 2020. My name is Rick Petticelli. And as usual, once a week, this video replaces the written commentary portion of our report. Hopefully it serves as a nice change of pace and offers some insight as to what charts we use, what time frames, and what indicators. We're going to first do some broad market analysis of the S&P 500 and NASDAQ composite. Then we'll run through open positions quickly. And then we'll take a look and see what's out there in terms of potential setups over the next few days. So let's get to the charts. First up is the NASDAQ composite. As of this recording, the NASDAQ 100 futures are down about 1.7%. And if we were to look at the QQQ first really quick, 1.7% lower would put the price action around yesterday's low in the NASDAQ 100 ETF QQQ. So back to the NASDAQ composite. I've drawn this rising channel here with the top line providing resistance and the bottom line support. If the NASDAQ composite does open lower, on Friday, it looks like it will break its uptrend line. And that definitely could lead to some short-term weakness. But we will be focused on is how the price action reacts around the 10 and the 20-day EMA, which is now also around the 200-day EMA. So the 8,400 level is going to be a big support area for us. And we're not only looking at the 8,400 level in the NASDAQ composite, we'll also be monitoring leading stocks and our current positions to see how they hold up as well. And on the S&P 500, I've drawn a slightly different channel using the higher low here as an anchor, only because to connect it from here to here doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's not more than one touch there, so with this line, you do get you get the anchor, then the first touch, and a few more which have held. So it looks like also if the S&P opens lower, it will have broken this uptrend line. But again, we're going to put more significance on how it reacts around the 20, which is just above the 50 MA. So around the 2765 to 2800 area on the S&P 500. We'll also be looking at XLK, the technology ETF. If there's a pullback, to see how it holds up around the 86 to 87 area with the rising 20 and 250-day MAs just below. So the reason for the sell-off in after hours is the Amazon reported earnings and sold off about close to 5% in after hours trading. And Apple was also down about 3% or so. All right, on to open positions. Coop was just purchased Thursday above 172. And given how the market sold off, it held up pretty well. But now with the market down 2% after hours, there could be a test of the breakout pivot tomorrow. Netflix were in from around this 408 area after a bullish gap down reversal, and it's currently trading around 413. NLOC, this isn't the correct chart. I don't know why TC2000 can't adjust it, but we bought on the breakout here above 1980. We only have a half position, so nothing to do here. It's reporting earnings on 5/14. Snap is down at 1727. We purchased over Tuesday's high on Wednesday. It looks like it's back down to the breakout point in after hours trading. And Nvidia, we're currently long from close to 300 here. And it looks like it's trading around 287 in the after hour session. So that would probably put it about around 4% lower, and that would be close to our stop, our first stop. And AMD we purchased. First, we're long from a small position at 55.40 with the stop below this recent low. And then we added a bit more to the position off the 20-day EMA on Thursday. and currently it is trading at 51.45. So that will likely take out our first stop if it doesn't reverse tomorrow morning. Our second stop with the lower entries around 50.79. So we'll have to see if that holds up. And then we have DXCM, which we sold 30% of our open position. We're long from about 280, and we took profits at about 18%. All right, so overall, we're not making a lot of progress with these positions, and there's 2 or 3 potentially underwater. So we're not going to add any more long exposure. And also not helping is XBI, which is the biotech ETF. It was a strong mover off the lows once it gained the 20-day EMA. It moved about 25% higher. It broke out again to above the prior high and stalled, and now is in pullback mode over the past few days. So biotechs were leading the market higher, and now it looks like many of these stocks will need some time to digest recent gains. And so that begs the question, where's leadership coming from next? One could argue that semiconductors are ready to do something, but we have with LSCC breaking out and holding up, but then we have one of the top dogs in the industry, AMD, near the 20-day EMA and in pullback mode on a disappointing reaction to earnings on Wednesday. So it may need to pull in a bit more and maybe shake out some longs below the 20-day EMA before it can reverse higher. And also NVIDIA, which we've already covered, it too was a false breakout, so maybe it needs to shake some recent longs, maybe dip below this 287 area and then turn back up, possibly. And PODD, decent price action here, and that could potentially be something that's in play next week or even possibly for partial size on Friday if it can get above 203. And other stocks we're keeping an eye on, LITE. It's a nice downtrend line break, and then a false breakout above the recent high, swing high, and looks like the price action is going to pull back in here. Let's see how it holds up versus this uptrend line and support from the 20-day EMA around 78. As you can see on the weekly chart, pretty nice consolidation. D-Dog is an interesting stock. There's a gap down and then a nice base here for several weeks. I'd say, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And it's moving higher from that consolidation and just needs to form some sort of handle here. So we're looking for the price to stall right around this area, or even where it's at now is fine, and just pull back in, slope lower for like a week or two, maybe even allow the 10-day EMA or possibly the 20-day EMA to catch up here. And for something like Shop, clearly it's a very strong stock. It's holding up. Really, it's held up really well given how fast it's moved off the lows. So normally when I see a stock that rallies about, anywhere from 60 to 100% off the lows in a few weeks, first of all, it's a very strong stock, but that's just too much too soon. So even if it were to move above this short-term pause here, the odds are not very high of it breaking out to new highs and putting in another significant advance. Probably more along the lines of it breaking out above the current high, maybe testing 700 and then pulling back in. Well, what I'd like to see after a strong move up is at the very least a test of the 20-day EMA and maybe 3 weeks sideways. And the final chart of the night is Work, which is in a pretty interesting setup here. Obviously had a nasty sell-off, close to 50%, but given how sharp the market sold off, 50% isn't exactly horrible. But notice the tightening up from left to right here. The next consolidation was 23%, and the current consolidation is 17%. What we're looking for here is for the price action to push through the 2-day high and then possibly test the prior high, maybe stall before the prior high, and then go sideways for a day or two, that would be the chance to enter with a tight stop looking for a breakout to the upside. And earnings are scheduled for 6/8. I don't know if that date is confirmed, so it does have some time to work out if it does attempt to break out within the next week or two. So just a quick recap here. In terms of open positions, we don't like the lack of follow through that we've seen lately. I'd say over the past 2 weeks, the initial surge up was pretty good. So that is a bit of a concern. Also, there just aren't a ton of quality setups right now, which tends to happen after a market runs for several weeks. And we'll just have to see how the market reacts to the sell-off in Amazon in after hours, and in turn how our stocks react to that selling. Do we need to raise stops or sit tight with some positions? We'll have to see. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you back here next week. Have a great weekend.